Welcome to 21st Sports 2015 season preview for the San Diego Chargers. We're going to go over the roster and the regular season schedule and make picks for every single game in the regular season. But let's start off with the roster. And at quarterback, Phillip Rivers. He actually's got a big contract, and he's coming off a big year where he had 4,286 pass yards, 31 touchdowns. Of course, 18 interceptions, a little bit high on the interception ratio. He's going to have to take care of the ball better in 2015 for the Chargers to have success, but he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league, and he had a 66.5% completion percentage. And they did add, a really strong running back in the draft in Melvin Gordon. That was an issue that they had to address, was that backfield. And by getting Melvin Gordon, they sure have shored things up, because they still have Danny Woodhead, and if he can be healthy, he can contribute for sure. And Brandon Oliver also showed some good things last year, so we'll see if he can build upon that success. And he won't be asked to do too much, because like I said, with Melvin Gordon, should be getting the majority of the carries. And they still got Donald Brown as well, so they got a much better backfield with the addition of Melvin Gordon. And they have plenty of talent at receiver with Malcolm Floyd, Stevie Johnson, Keenan Allen, of course. And so they've got plenty of weapons for Rivers to distribute the ball to. Of course, the one thing they're going to be without, at least early on in the season, is Antonio Gates. So in the meantime, you're going to have Ladarius Green and David Johnson. Of course, that's going to hurt the Chargers early on. And so then on defense, let's look at the defense. And on defense, you got Kendall Reese at defensive end. You also have Sean Lismore up front and Corey Liggett. And Liggett is one of the better defensive tackles in the game. Then at linebacker, you got Melvin Ingram and Jerry Atauchu, which I probably butchered that name. Probably butchered Liggett too. I apologize for my pronunciation. Inside linebackers, you got Donald Butler and Manti Te'o. And of course, they're young, especially Te'o, but I think he's coming into his own. I think he can be, a successful linebacker. So then in the corners, you got Brandon Flowers and Jason Verrett, two talented corners. And then Jaleel Adai, and of course the free safety, Eric Weddle. And Eric Weddle is one of the best free safeties in the game. And so they have a decent defense. They could, improve on defense. That's one of the things they didn't really address, the issues on defense in the offseason. They did get better overall, by adding Melvin Gordon. That was one of the big needs that they had, and they did address that in the draft. Let's look at the special teams real quick. And you might have Mike Jeffries as the punter. He's a good punter. And they have a rookie kicker, so that's a big question mark right there, especially with the new extra point rule where they move the ball back. So it'll be interesting to see how things work out with Josh Lambo. And then, that's a good football name right there, Lambo. He should be the kicker for the Packers. All right, so returning the punts and the kicks, you got Jacoby Jones. And, of course, helping him out with that, you got Brandon Oliver and Keenan Allen. And even Woodhead might get in on some kick returns, too. But Jacoby Jones, he's a threat to take it to the house. That's an excellent, guy to have there return your punts and kicks. So they have a decent roster. I believe they're going to be over 500, and they're going to compete for the AFC West title, although I do believe they fall just shy. But let's go over that schedule and see how we have things breaking down in 2015 with the Chargers starting off in Week 1, September 13th, at home against the Detroit Lions. It's a 4 o'clock kickoff. All these times are Eastern. And so against the Lions, I just think the Lions are too tough. I think they come in there and that they can beat the Chargers. The Chargers do have a chance if they can run the ball, and if they can, eat up the clock, and if they can keep the Lions' offense off the field. But officially, I have Detroit winning this one. So in Week 2, September 20th, 1 o'clock kickoff. Their first road game is going to be in Cincinnati against the Bengals, and the Bengals are one of the toughest teams to beat in their home. The Bengals were undefeated at home last year during the regular season, and I believe they'll win this game against the Chargers and get a little revenge for the postseason. The Chargers beat them, knocked them out of the playoffs, but the other year. But right here, I think that they lose this game. Of course, they have beat them in Cincinnati before. Like I said, in the playoffs they did. So maybe they could do it in the regular season and repeat that feat. It's a very real possibility. And that's the thing. If they can win these first couple of games, then they actually do have a shot at winning the West. And I think that the AFC West is wide open, and that the Broncos are not going to repeat, and that one of the teams between the Chargers, Chiefs, or Raiders is going to come up and take that division title. But I have the Bengals win this game. Then week 3, September 27th, another 1 o'clock kickoff, their second straight road game. This one in Minnesota, as they're still in the Midwest. And against the Vikings on the road, I had the Vikings win this one. But again, I could see the Chargers winning. This one's kind of a toss-up. Really, that it's in Minnesota is the difference. They're pretty evenly matched teams. The Vikings have a little bit better defense, although they have a lot of youth on their defense. But so it's a rough start, and that's the things about the Chargers is that they start slow. Historically, I mean, going back, they before were 0-4, and they went to the Super Bowl back in the 90s. So just because they start off 0-3 doesn't mean that they can't get things going. And if they can win one of these first 3 games, like I said, they definitely have a real possibility of taking this division, although that's not how I have it picked. But week 4, October 4th, 4 o'clock kickoff back home. And this one's against the Cleveland Browns. They should have no problem beating the Browns and get in the win column for the first time in 2015, at least by my estimations. And then in week 5, they're going to be on Monday Night Football, October 12th, against the Steelers. That's in San Diego. And I believe against the Steelers, they can beat them. Like I said, it's in San Diego. I think this one's going to be a shootout. And I think that they can win on Monday Night Football in prime time. So week 6, October 18th, 4 o'clock, 4:25 kickoff in Lambeau Field. So Lambeau will be in Lambeau. And that'll be interesting. Like, Lambeau with the kick at Lambeau. But anyway, against the Packers on the road, I think that the Packers are just too good. I think the Packers are going to be one of the best teams this year, even without Jordy. And I think the Packers win this one. So in week 7, October 25th, back in San Diego against the Raiders, their division rivals. This is their first division rivalry game, and it's all the way in week 7. But I believe they beat the Raiders in San Diego in week 7. So then week 8, November 1st, a 1 o'clock kickoff on the road in Baltimore against the Ravens. And I believe they can beat the Ravens. I think the Ravens are going to have a tough year this year. I think the Chargers win this game. So in week 9, November 9th, Monday Night Football. The second time they're going to be on Monday Night Football, their second primetime game of the year. This one in San Diego against the Chicago Bears. And I believe they could beat the Bears. The Bears, have some issues on defense, and I think San Diego will have no problem scoring points against the Bears, and so that leads them to their bye week. And then coming out of the bye week, they're going to be on prime time once again, this time Sunday Night Football, their third prime time game of the year, November 22nd. It's 8:30 kickoff. This one against their division rival, the Kansas City Chiefs, as they play their second division game of the year all the way in week 11. So I believe this one right here in San Diego, they can beat the Chiefs. So then week 12, November 29th, 1 o'clock kickoff. They're going to be in Jacksonville to face the Jaguars. And this is a game, you would think they would win, but I think the Jaguars are going to be a lot tougher this year, and I think the Jags pull this one out. But the Chargers could win this game. Like, there's a few games that I have them losing that they could pull off, and if they do pull off, then they could win the West. But I have the Jags officially winning this one. So then December 6th, week 13, they're going to be hosting the Broncos. It's a 4 o'clock kickoff against Denver in San Diego. And I believe that they will beat the Broncos. I think Peyton has finally reached the end of his career. He's had a good run. He's a Hall of Famer, but it's just, time catches up to all of us. And I think that the Chargers win this game. It's always a tough game when these two teams hook up, and it's always much-watched TV. But I think San Diego wins this one. Then week 14, December 13th, 1 o'clock kickoff. They'll be in Arrowhead to face the Kansas City Chiefs. I think the Chiefs win this one, and they split the season series with the Chargers. So in San Diego, the Chargers beat the Chiefs, but in Kansas City, I think the Chiefs beat the Chargers. So then in week 15, December 20th, another Sunday game, 4:25 kickoff. This one in San Diego, their final home game of the season against the Dolphins. And the Dolphins are one of the best teams in the AFC, in my opinion, this year. But I believe that the Chargers can win this one. The Chargers usually, they finish strong. Even I have them with that, a 4-game win streak, the 3 weeks before the bye and then the 1 week after the bye, but then kind of going back and forth the rest of the way, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win. But right here, I believe they could beat the Dolphins at home in San Diego. So in week 16, Thursday Night Football, their final primetime game, their fourth primetime game. This is December 24th, Christmas Eve, 8:25 kickoff. And what would Christmas Eve be without the Chargers facing the Raiders in Oakland? And this is a game, the Chargers could win this one, but I think the Raiders are going to be much better than a lot of people give them credit for in 2015. I think the Raiders win this one, and they split the season series. I think the Chargers beat them earlier in the year in Week 7 in San Diego, but in Oakland, I think the Raiders get the edge. And so then I could see the Chargers winning, though. Week 17, January 3rd, the final game of this season. And they've got plenty of time to prepare for it, a long week. And it's a 4:25 kickoff in Denver against the Broncos. And I believe they will beat the Broncos in Denver and sweep the season series with the Broncos and end the season on a high note. And I believe that puts them at 9-7 and just missing the playoffs in my estimation. But there's a possibility, a real possibility, with 9-7, they could be a wild card team depending on how things play out. And if they win a couple games here and there, they could be 11-5 or even 12-4 and take the division. Like I said, it's anyone's for the taking. It's really going to come down the second half of the season, down the stretch. But of course, they got to start off hot. That's the thing, is they start off so cold every year. They really can't afford to do that. If they want to win the division, they got to just start off right off the rip and win those early tough games that they have. Even though it's not the toughest early schedule, but those first 3 games are really tough, and then it kind of softens up a little bit. But then, boom, they have to go to Green Bay, and then it eases up some. But then, they have all those division games at the end of the season. They don't even play their first division rivalry game until Week 7, so it's going to be interesting. But that kind of plays out in their favor, though, because, like I said, sometimes they take time to get going. Once they get going, they look like the best team always in the second half, but they got to start strong, and they got to prove that they could do that before you can really predict that they're going to do that. At least that's how I have things going. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions about the roster, about the schedule, and about the predictions that we're making. And where do you predict them to go? Where do you see them going? Do you think that they can win the division? Do you think they'll be a playoff team? I think it's a real possibility, especially now that they have a better running game with Gordon. As long as they can stay healthy, they could put up a lot of points, but the defense is a little bit of a question, although they do have some good players on the defense, so it'll be interesting to see how things shape up in San Diego. Like I said, they have a very real chance of winning the West. I don't count them out by any stretch of the imagination. I think they'll have a winning season, and they will end on the high note. Having swept the Broncos, beating the Broncos twice is always going to make Chargers fans smile. But that's how I have it. Thank you very much for listening. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and have a great weekend and enjoy all the sports.